We are 1 week away from North Dakota's June election. This year, the state has shifted to mail-in only, and there are some things you should know before Election Day on June 9th. Reporter Mailin Ballots tells us how to make sure your vote counts.
If you've already received and returned your ballot by mail, you've probably noticed that you've had to pay your own postage, unless you return it at a drop box like this one here. A lawsuit in Georgia has actually called this a poll tax. We spoke with those organizing the election here in North Dakota to see how this will affect the June election. Since voting in person this June isn't an option, you need to prepare prior to Election Day on June 9th. You need a valid form of state ID to apply for a ballot.
Especially if you are a new resident of North Dakota in the last couple months and couldn't get in to get your driver's license, you definitely need to get in and get it now so that you can apply for a ballot.
After submitting your ballot request, you'll receive your mail-in ballot. These must be postmarked by June 8th, but if you choose to mail it back, you'll have to pay for it.
There are laws within the Century Code right now that speak to the way the ballots have to be returned.
North Dakota's Century Code states a voter voting by absentee ballot may not require the political subdivision providing the ballot to bear the expense of the return postage for an absentee ballot. Governor Burgum defended this method for the June election in a news briefing last week.
There's cost to voting in person, and there's cost to voting online. I guess an alternative would be to think about whether or not we should provide, return envelopes prepaid as part of that process would be something I guess maybe the legislature could look at if people thought that was a concern.
A concern about paying to vote that some people have.
Previously, the idea was if you want to take a mail-in ballot instead of going to the polls, you are making that decision, and then you should be the one who pays for that since you've made that decision.
Newby says the ballot boxes still keep voting fair.
You can take your ballot to a drop box, which I think as we get closer to June 9th, people should consider doing anyway.
But if this continues, civil leaders say they'll take action.
If we see vote by mail exclusively in the general election, we will likely try to do some advanced advocacy on the issue to try to get the governor and the Secretary of State to understand that this is something that we're concerned about.
If you haven't received your ballot yet, Newby says to contact your county auditor as soon as possible to speed up the process.
If you haven't received your ballot for mail-in voting, call your county auditor to request one. And for other voting questions, visit vote.nd.gov. Up next on Valley News Live at 6, the Fargo Park District is hoping to lure kids to its upcoming summertime event.